News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening. Welcome to the National News broadcast. Coming to you live from the National News Studio complex, I'm Lakshya Singh, and joining me tonight is Hesha Inali. Former President Maithripala Sirisena says he will pay the compensation for Easter Sunday attack victims. Suspect over the university student murder arrested. Chinese delegation assures the Prime Minister that Sri Lanka will receive good news over the debt restructuring. President says negotiations to receive consent for debt restructuring are successful. Opposition leader prepares to issue a code of ethics for local government candidates. China suffers an economic setback. On to those and other stories in detail, we start off with the top story for tonight. Former President Maithripala Sirisena says he will make the compensation payments of 100 million rupees adhering to the court order with the support of his acquaintances, as he has no adequate assets to make the payments on his own. However, speaking at the parliament today, the former president said that he respects the order issued by the courts. Former President Maithripala Sirisena said that war prevailed over the country during the tenures of other presidents, and over 1,000 to 1,500 army soldiers were killed in a day. He said that he respects the court order. He said that the court order has clearly indicated that the president should take the responsibility if the officers appointed by him commit any offences. The former president said that he has no wealth or an income to pay 100 million rupees. Therefore, he said that he will raise the amount with the support of his acquaintances and well-wishers.
මුදලක් ගෙවන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තිබෙන්නේ තීන්දුවේ පැහැදිලි ලෙසම කියනවා ජනාධිපතිවරයා විසින් පත් කරන ලද නිලධාරීන් යම්කිසි වැරැද්දක් කළහොත් ඒ වැරැද්ද සඳහා ජනාධිපතිවරයා වගකිය යුතුයි කියලා. මේ තත්ත්වය උඩ තමයි මට කෝටි 10ක් වන්දි ගෙවන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තිබෙන්නේ.
යුක්තිය සඳහාම පමණයි නමින් පැවති මාධ්‍ය හමුව.
A media briefing was held urging the Attorney General's Department to file indictments against the persons who were ordered to pay compensation pertaining to the Easter Sunday attack. Reverend Father Rohan De Silva requested that those who are responsible should accept the consequences without handing over the responsibilities to other parties, as those who commit negligence are also part of the offence.
Moving on, a 24-year-old university student was killed at the racecourse grounds area in Colombo this afternoon. A suspect has been taken into police custody over the murder. The female university student was hacked to death using a blunt weapon on the steps of the racecourse grounds in Colombo. Reports have indicated that the murder has been committed in a crowded area. The victim has been identified as a third-year student in Colombo University residing in Kiriwatuduwa, Homagama area. The reason behind the murder is still unknown. The investigation related to the murder is conducted by the Cinnamon Gardens Police. Colombo Chief Magistrate Prasanna Alves carried out the magisterial inquiry. The parents of the victim have identified the body. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that discussions with India and China to receive consent for debt restructuring are successful.
The president invited the opposition to join hands through a new political system to provide relief to the people and free them from oppression. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that the government is working to get the economy on the right track. He said that they have to get India and China to consent to this debt restructuring. He said that they are continuing discussions in that regard and announced that the discussions are currently successful. He also said that the government will not be able to receive the expected income at once and hope to put all this together and carry out this work. Paying salaries is one of our main functions. He further said that the government has been accused of not providing money for medicines and another 100 million has to be given. He pointed out that there is one problem in the health sector for which they have to pay a bill of 50 billion rupees for the last few years. However, despite these difficulties, he said that the government intends to allocate 30 to 40 billion rupees this year for medicines. The Health Ministry and the Treasury will somehow join hands and carry out these matters, he added. Last year, he said that there was a shortage of food in the country. The president said that the government expected that there would be a shortage of food this year as well. He said that somehow they provided the required fertilizer to the farmers and the country now has a surplus of crops. He said that the government has obtained this paddy surplus due to a bountiful Yala season as well as the previous Maha season. He said that they have to maintain the price of paddy at 100 rupees per kilo and allocate 10 billion rupees for this purpose. Previously, only a sum of 5 billion rupees was allocated for this purpose. The excess harvest was sold earlier, but he said that the government will opt out of this measure on this occasion. He added that the government has devised a program to provide 2 million low-income families with 10 kilograms of rice per month during March and April. As the nation celebrates its 75th independence, he said that the government will not allow the people to starve and will invest the funds required to feed them. The president said that some people criticize the expenditure of the government on the independence celebration, but the government needs to provide such relief to the people. He said that the government will also take measures to implement a housing project for low-income earners in the Colombo district and Gampahat districts. Despite the existing economic crisis in the country, he said that they are working hard to provide relief to the people. Marking the 75th independence anniversary, he proposed to the opposition to change the existing political system and work together to provide relief to the people. He urged everyone to work together for the future of the country.
Meanwhile, Speaker Mahinda Yapa Abewardene informed the Parliament today that the Supreme Court has conveyed that the election expenditure regulatory draft bill challenged in the courts can be passed with a simple majority in the Parliament with amendments. Parliamentarians of both the ruling party and the opposition made remarks over the upcoming local government polls. MP Aran Wickramaratne said that the total expenditure pertaining to the country amounts to 7,900 billion rupees and 10 billion rupees are required to conduct an election. In the meantime, he said that the government MPs and ministers claim that the country is bankrupted and unable to make the pension payments. Therefore, he inquired whether the government has presented a bogus budget. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardene in response said that fiscal earnings have depleted and issue has risen in the state sector over the payments. He added that the issue was discussed in the cabinet openly. MP Anra Kumara Dissanayake inquired whether a cabinet decision has been taken to direct the Election Commission to suspend the elections. And the Prime Minister in response said that no such decision to suspend the elections is yet to be reached in the cabinet.
In other stories, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardene said that the program to absorb close to 35,000 multi-sectoral development assistance to various departments on permanent basis has commenced. The Prime Minister said that these personnel will receive a higher salary than the payment they receive at present. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardene said that 35,000 persons were recruited by former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa 2 years back. He said that a multi-sectoral development task force was established to resolve issues pertaining to the youth with no ordinary level qualifications. He said that the current president has decided to initiate a program to recruit 35,000 persons who are working in various institutions on permanent basis. Cabinet approval was granted to pay the monthly salaries of the non-executive officers on the due dates, while the monthly salaries of executive officers will be paid some days from the exact salary date.
And the aim of the initiative is to manage the government expenditure. Cabinet spokesman and Minister Bandula Gunawardene made these remarks during the media briefing held today at the Government Information Department to announce the cabinet decisions. Cabinet spokesman Minister Bandula Gunawardene said that the Treasury is unable to manage the fiscal expenditure as the spending has exceeded the earnings. He added that the government has paid 182 billion rupees as interest payments for loans by printing money. He pointed out that the expenditure cannot be mitigated by increasing taxes abnormally. He said that the government has no financial capacity to bear the cost pertaining to priority requirements. Therefore, the minister said that the cabinet paper was presented by the president regarding the salary payments. He said that based on the accumulation of funds, the payment of pension for senior citizens may delay by 2 to 3 days, yet maximum effort will be taken to make the payments on time. Also, he said that non-executive state officers will receive their monthly salaries on the due date with a 2-day to 1-week delay may occur in providing the monthly salaries for executive state officers.
Cabinet of Ministers approved the resolution to furnish allocations required to provide financial assistance proposed through the Budget 2023 for the Samurdhi beneficiaries and other vulnerable groups in the society for another 5 months from the month of May to September. The relevant proposal was presented by the President. The need to ensure sufficient financial provisions for the control of the government expenditure within the existing limited financial space as well as the finances for essential and priority activities has risen. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers decided to withhold 6% from the recurrent provisions in approved government expenditure estimations. The proposal was presented by the President. The approval of the Cabinet was provided for the proposal presented by the President to instruct the legal draftsman to prepare the International Trade Office Bill based on the prepared preliminary draft. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal presented by Minister Nazir Ahmed to sign an agreement with the Global Green Growth Institute to promote green growth strategies in the country. Cabinet approval was granted for a proposal presented by Minister Bandula Gunawardena to extend tax concessions for the World Bank-funded Interconnection and Development Project. Under the project, it has been planned to develop 3,000 kilometers of rural roads throughout the island in the first phase. An agency is expected to be established for export and investment promotion. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the resolution furnished by the President to appoint a supervisory committee to manage and guide the activities for the establishment of the proposed agency. Cabinet approval was granted to take necessary steps to implement the Truth and Reconciliation mechanism. The relevant proposal was presented as a joint resolution by the President and several other ministers. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal furnished by the President to implement the government paddy purchase program for Maha season to provide 10 kilograms of rice per month for one family, covering 2 million families identified for a period of 2 months. The fees charged for the use of aviation shipyard at the airports have been revised. The orders have also been applied to Jaffna International Airport. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal of Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva to table those orders in the Parliament.
Meanwhile, a group of doctors in Hambantota district engaged in a protest this afternoon opposing the medicinal drug shortage in hospitals and the tax policy of the government. The protest was held in front of the Hambantota General Hospital. The doctors who were involved in the protest said that the public is facing great difficulties due to medicinal drugs as well as equipment shortage in the hospital system in the country. The protest was organized by the Government Medical Officers Association.
Placing of deposits for the local government polls was carried out today. The Election Commission said that many political parties and independent groups have completed the placing of deposits. Meanwhile, the acceptance of nominations will commence tomorrow. Sri Lanka Freedom Party placed deposits at the district election office to contest in all local government bodies in the Badulla district. Samagi Janabalawegaya placed deposits for the local government bodies in Colombo, Kolonnawa, Dehiwala, Mount Lavinia, Kotte, Ratmalana and Kaduwela. The National Democratic Front also placed deposits to contest in the Colombo district. Geopolitical tensions, high inflation, tightening of monetary policies have dampened the prospects for labour markets, with the global unemployment predicted to slightly rise in 2023, according to a new International Labour Organization report.
The International Labour Organization's World Employment and Social Outlook Trends 2023 report projects that global employment growth will only be 1% in 2023, less than half the level in 2022.
Assistant Director General for Governance Rights and Dialogue of the International Labour Organization, Manuela Tomei, during media briefing in Geneva, said that the global unemployment is expected to increase by around 3 million to 208 million, corresponding to a global unemployment rate of 5.8%.
The global economy faces a very challenging year ahead. Geopolitical tensions, disruption in supply chains, high inflation, the tightening of monetary policies and great uncertainty overall are all contributing to depressing the prospects for labor markets. The growth of global employment is projected to slow to 1%, which is half of the growth of employment in 2022, and it's 0.5 percentage points lower than what the ILO had projected last year. As far as unemployment is concerned, we are anticipating that there will be a rise of 3 million unemployed in 2023. If we are taking a new measurement of unemployment, which is the global employment gap, which captures the unmet demand for employment. So in addition to the 208 million of unemployed looking for a job, there are other 267 million people who would like to work but are not working, either because they are discouraged, they have been looking for a job unsuccessfully and they have decided to stop looking for it, and others that would like to work but because of family responsibilities, for instance, are not in a position to make themselves available for paid employment.
The annual meeting of the World Economic Forum kicked off yesterday in Davos, Switzerland. Under the theme of Cooperation in a Fragmented World, the meeting will center on issues such as geo-economic challenges, stagnant economic growth, and deepening climate crisis. The first offline meeting in 2 years will place emphasis on topics referring to 5 fields: current energy and food crisis, current high inflation, low growth and high debt economy, current industry headwinds, current social vulnerabilities, and current geopolitical risks in the context of a new system for dialogue and cooperation in a multipolar world. Over 2,700 leaders from 130 countries are attending this year's meeting in Davos, including around 50 heads of state and government. Representatives from all walks of life will organize hundreds of public and private meetings and dialogues during the 5-day meeting, with more than 60 sub-forums and themed activities set up on the formal agenda today. The summit will discuss and exchange opinions on the current problems pertaining to global development and formulate countermeasures as part of the efforts to direct the global development back on the rails. The meeting will conclude on the 20th of January.
And in the meantime, tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka in the first 15 days of the year recorded over 47,300. This is a 13% increase compared to the same period last year. Accordingly, the provincial data from the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority has indicated that a total of 47,353 tourists had arrived in the country during the 15 days of January. The data has also indicated that the daily arrival average for the period was at 3,156. The weekly arrival for the first week of January is at a total of 20,875 tourists, while in the second week, the arrivals increased to 26,478. Russia topped the arrival list, which accounted for 25% of the total tourist arrivals. Ranking second is India, contributing to 12% of the total tourism traffic, and 8% of the total tourist arrivals is from Germany. Sri Lanka tourism aims to attract a total of 1.5 million tourists for the 12 months of 2023, and the government expects to bring in an average of 125,000 international visitors per month to realize that target.
Secretary-General of the Gulf Cooperation Council has called for stronger ties with the European Union and Sri Lanka. Secretary-General of the Gulf Cooperation Council, Dr. Naifala Al-Hajraf, made these remarks following the meetings with both Sri Lankan and European Union ambassadors. Secretary-General of the Gulf Cooperation Council met with the Sri Lankan ambassador to Saudi Arabia, PM Amza, yesterday to discuss strengthening cooperation between the Gulf Cooperation Council and Sri Lanka in politics, economy and tourism. Dr. Naifala Al-Hajraf emphasized the importance of strengthening relations between the Gulf Cooperation Council and the European Union to realize shared interests during a meeting with EU Ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Patrick Simonet, in Riyadh. A high-level delegation of China's Communist Party led by Vice Minister Chen Zhou called on Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena at the Temple Trees yesterday.
And the delegation assured that China would stand by Sri Lanka in the current economic crisis. When responding to China's support to Sri Lanka's debt restructuring, Vice Minister Chen Zhu said that assured the Prime Minister several ministries and financial institutes of China are working closely on this issue for a long period. Chen Zhu, who is also the head of the China's Communist Party International Department, said that he is confident Sri Lanka will receive good news in this regard in near future. During the meeting, the Vice Minister Chen held a detailed discussion on how to enhance Sri Lanka-China bilateral, pragmatic cooperation and party-to-party exchanges between the China's Communist Party and progressive political parties in Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister said Sri Lanka looks forward to China's support in restructuring its debt at the moment and further strengthening its economy in the near future. He said China will further enhance cooperation with friendly developing countries under President Xi Jinping's policies, and he said Sri Lanka has vast potential for growth and Chinese investments in many sectors will increase in the years to come. In the meantime, Freedom People's Alliance, including the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, has decided to contest the local government polls under the helicopter symbol.
Meanwhile, Sri Lanka Freedom Party will contest in several districts under the hand symbol as well. The decision was reached during a meeting held in Colombo yesterday. MP Udaya Gammampila said that strong candidates will not be able to contest in the maximum capacity at the elections when the candidates are divided based on the parties. Therefore, he said that the decision was reached to contest in both helicopter and the hand symbol. MP Channa Jayasumana said that the formed alliance represented under helicopter symbol will continue to function in the future. MP Vimal Veeravansha said that all parties in the alliance will contest the elections unitedly, but he said that Sri Lanka Freedom Party will contest in several divisions under the hand symbol.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that the candidates contesting from his party for the local government elections will compete under a set code of ethics.
Meanwhile, former JVP parliamentarian Bimal Ratnayaka said that the local government election is a significant election for the masses. These remarks were shared during public meetings in Horopatana and Habaraduwa areas. Former JVP MP Bimal Ratnayaka said that the upcoming election is a significant and important election. He said that the country requires a solution for the prevailing economic crisis. He added that quick solutions cannot be provided for the issues faced by the country. Therefore, he said that the priority should be to establish a recognized political leadership. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that they are in the process of embarking on a new journey. He added that the candidates contesting from his party for the local government elections will compete under a set code of ethics. A special Holy Mass was conducted marking the 25th commemoration of veteran lyricist Reverend Father Marcelin Jayakody.
And the special service was held at the Godella St. Sebastian Church. The Holy Mass was conducted under the patronage of Bishop of Kandy, Reverend Father Valens Mendes. A book used by Reverend Father Marcelin Jayakody was handed over to the Bishop during the ceremony. A hymn written and musically composed by the Reverend Father was unveiled during the event. The Buddhist sermon was conducted by Venerable Dumbaladeniye Dhammapala Thera.
Welcome back as we take a look at news from overseas.
China's economy grew 3% in 2022, one of the weakest performances in the country's modern history, according to government data. The Chinese economy expanded 2.9% during the final quarter, slowing from 3.9% growth during the July-September period. National Bureau of the Statistics figures showed yesterday. Excluding 2020, the Chinese economy in 2022 had its weakest performances since 1976. the final year of Mao Zedong's three-decade rule. China's government had set a goal of 5.5% growth before dropping the target from official announcements amid worsening economic conditions. Still, the fourth quarter growth came significantly ahead of some economists' expectations. China experienced a permanent loss in potential output as a result of low fertility rates during 3 long years of zero COVID, resulting in a marked population decline. China's strict zero-COVID pandemic policy weighed heavily on the world's second-largest economy towards the end of last year, with lockdowns hobbling economic activity.
6 people, including a 17-year-old mother and her 6-month-old baby, were killed in a shooting early Monday at a home in Central California, and authorities are searching for at least 2 suspects. Sheriff's officials reported this incident. Law enforcement responded around to reports of multiple shots fired at the residence in unincorporated Goshen, just east of Visalia, the Tulare County Sheriff's Office said. Goshen is a semi-rural community of about 3,000 residents 35 miles southeast of Fresno in the agricultural San Joaquin Valley. Police has found 2 victims dead in the street and a 3rd person fatally shot in the doorway of the residence. 3 more victims were found inside the home, including a man who was still alive but later died at a hospital. The sheriff said investigators are searching for at least 2 suspects. They believe there is a gang connection to the killings. The sheriff's office conducted a narcotics-related search warrant at the residence last week.
In the meantime, Pakistan has launched its first nationwide anti-polio campaign for the year, aiming to immunize more than 44 million children under the age of 5 to protect them from the viral disease. The 3-day campaign started yesterday in more than 150 districts of the country, which along with Afghanistan are the only 2 countries where the debilitating neurodegenerative disease is still endemic. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif formally inaugurated the campaign at an event in the capital, Islamabad, where he also administered polio drops to children. Sharif said a resurgence of the virus has raised global concerns, including from the World Health Organization and other stakeholders. The year 2021 saw just 1 new case of polio in Pakistan, raising hopes of success in its battle against the disease. However, that number rose to 20 in 2022, and all of them detected in the northwestern province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. 17 of those cases were found in the tribal-dominated district of North Waziristan, while 3 others were spotted in the Lucky Marwat district. Pakistan and Afghanistan are yet to be declared free of the wild poliovirus type 1 disease and to be officially recognized as polio-free. A country must show an absence of wild poliovirus transmission for at least 3 consecutive years, according to the Global Polio Eradication Initiative.
Well, that's all the stories for tonight. Do join us tomorrow at 8:50 p.m. for more of the very latest. Until then, good night.